from AWS RDS MySQL to Alibaba Cloud RDS MySQL. I have created an instance in Amazon RDS MySQL. I'm going to move to RDS. DB instance, and the instance names I have created is named sample. And this is the endpoint where that I will be connecting using a database administration tools to access to Amazon RDS MySQL instance with the default port of 3306 for MySQL. Before doing that, I need to whitelist my IP address from the location where I'm connecting from in the VPC security groups. In the VPC security groups, I'll click on the inbound rules. From the inbound rules itself, I have whitelisted my IP address from where I'm actually connecting from to the Amazon RDS MySQL instance on the port 3306. And at the same time, I have whitelisted all the IP address which is required to access from Alibaba Cloud DTS to Amazon RDS MySQL instance. I will show to you later where do I get all this IP address. I'm going to move on to the database admission tools DB viewer to show you how I connect to from my location here to Amazon RDS MySQL instance. When I look at here itself, this is where I have configured the connection to Amazon RDS MySQL instance, and I have created a database named employees with all the tables and data, and at the same time I have connected to Alibaba Cloud MySQL instance, and there's no database at the moment right now, which that we are going to move the employees database to Ali Cloud RDS instance. Let's move to the Alibaba Cloud Console and click on the ApsaraDB for RDS, and then click on instance. And this is an instance which I have created earlier to migrate the database from Amazon RDS MySQL to Ali Cloud. So I will click on the instance ID, and I have created the account name which that we're going to use to connect to this instance. It's known as DB admin, and the database is not created yet, so we're going to use the data transmission services tool from Ali Cloud to move and migrate the schema and also the data from Amazon RDS to here. So the next thing is that I'm going to click on database connection. From the database connection, I have created an endpoint which is accessed from the public, and this is an endpoint where that I have also configured in the DB viewer, so that as what I have shown earlier, that we can connect from DB viewer to see and to do some administration from to manage the RDS instance in Ali Cloud. So let's look at the configure whitelist. In order to allow me to access to the Ali Cloud RDS MySQL instance, I have to whitelist the IP address as well. And this is where that this is the IP address belong to where that I'm connecting from my location to Ali Cloud RDS MySQL instance. Now we're going to start to look at how we're going to migrate by using the data transmission services tool by connecting from Amazon RDS MySQL instance to Ali Cloud RDS MySQL instance. I'm going to go for data transmission services. And then click create migration task. I'm going to name the task name as migrate AWS to Ali Cloud RDS MySQL. So the next thing is that I'm going to select the source database. So the source database will be Amazon RDS MySQL instance. And the instance type will be user created database with public IP. And then this is where that I will get all the IP address that I require to whitelist in Amazon RDS, which allow the DTS to access to the Amazon RDS MySQL instance. And the instance region will be Singapore. This is where that I created the MySQL instance in Amazon RDS. And the database type will be MySQL. And the host name or the IP address, this is where that I will be getting from the endpoint in Amazon RDS. So I input over here, and the port will be default of 3306. And the database accounts is admin, and then I will enter my password. I will run a test connectivity to ensure that I can connect from the DTS to the Amazon RDS instance. While waiting for the test connectivity to complete, I need to enter the destination database, and this will be the Ali Cloud RDS MySQL instance configurations. And we can see over here is that the connectivity is passed. So it means that the DTS is able to connect to the Amazon RDS MySQL instance. I'm going to choose the RDS instance. This is where I'm going to move the database to RDS instance in Ali Cloud. And the instance region will be in Singapore. And then we're going to select which other instance ID I have created earlier that I'm going to move the database from Amazon RDS to here. This is the instance which we have seen earlier, migrate from AWS with the instance ID. I will choose this one, and the accounts names that I have created earlier, dbadmin. I will enter my password to access to the instance, and then I will run the test connectivity to ensure that I can connect to this instance before we proceed to the next step. Now both of the test connectivity is passed. I'm going to click on the set whitelist and next, and the whitelist has been done, and then just click next. And now from here itself, we can see that there's a migration type of schema migration. We're going to move the schema from AWS RDS MySQL instance with the employees database to Ali Cloud RDS MySQL, and this will include the full data migration as well. So it will be default to schema migration and full data migration. Now I'm going to choose what is the schema that I require to migrate to Ali Cloud. So I'm going to choose the employees and then click on the arrow here and now I'm going to actually leave it the name as employees database, so that the DTS will create the employees database in Ali Cloud RDS MySQL instance. And I'll leave all the setting as default, and then next step will be click on the pre-check. So the pre-check will try to check if everything in terms of the connectivity to Amazon AWS and Ali Cloud RDS MySQL instance connectivity is successful and there's no issue from each of the check before we proceed with the migration. Now the next thing is that we can actually configure one of the tasks and configure alerts in Cloud Monitor, and this Cloud Monitor will try to monitor the transmissions of the schema and also the data by running, which is going to be run by the DTS. So from here itself, it will actually show us how we can set the rules, alerts rules in where that we want to monitor in case of if there is a delay in terms of latency or slowness, and that it will start to actually alert us through emails or webhooks or based on what we're going to set here. So the next thing is that it show you all the steps. I'm going to skip the step here in order to proceed with the creation of the alerts rules. So I'm going to click on the Cloud Monitor console. And then in the Cloud Monitor console, I'm going to click on alerts. And the next thing will be alerts rules. So I'm going to create one alerts rules. And from the create alert rules configurations, we're going to select the product as data transmission services. For migrations, you're going to apply for the instance level, and then we're going to choose Singapore, and this is an instance which we are going to migrate the database to Ali Cloud RDS MySQL instance. I'm going to name the alerts rules as data migrations, and I'm going to set the rules as if the migration latency is going to be more or equal to 1 second, then it will start to alert and send me the message of the slowness. And at the same time, I have already created a contact group here, which is going to send it to my email. I'm going to select from the contact group as admin, and if there's a delay or slowness, then it will start to actually send me an email or ding talk. I'm going to leave everything as default, and I'm going to just put an email subject as a DTS migrations alerts slowness, and then confirm. So now I have already created the alerts rules, which is going to monitor the DTS migration task. I'm going to move back to the data transmission services, and this is a task that I have already created earlier. And so the next step is going to start the task. And click OK. And it will start to run the pre-checking before proceed to the next step. So everything is successful. Connection to the source and target. I'm going to click next, and I'll be choosing a channel specification which is small, due to the data size of my database is small. And then I'm going to click agree on the service term, then click on the buy and start. So let's look at here on the status itself is starting to migrate, and we're going to wait for just for 1 or 2 minutes, and we have an option here to click on refresh to see the status. In order for us to see what is actually going on, we can click on the task ID, and then click on the migration details, so we can check on the schema migrations from AWS RDS MySQL instance to Ali Cloud RDS MySQL. So once you click on schema migration, you can see all the table belong to the source database employees has not started yet to create to the destination of the database named employees. So, and then we can click on the view. There are 2 views that is going to move over, and it will show a status of completed. Let's click on the table again, and now we can see that the status has changed to completed for all the tables. Let's look at the data right now. So when we click on the full data migrations, we can see that the data has not started yet, and then we just need to wait for like a minute for it to start to fetch all the data from AWS RDS MySQL instance employees database to Ali Cloud. Let's look at the migration task again, and click on refresh. It shows as completed. So let's go back to the full data migration. Now we can see all the data has already moved from the source database from Amazon RDS employees database to Ali Cloud RDS MySQL database. So we're going to check from the DB viewer, and this is the AWS RDS instance where that we have the employees database with all the tables. Now we're going to go to the Ali Cloud MySQL instance, and then let's click on the refresh. So now we can see the employees database has been created by the DTS. And let's look at the table. And it says all the table has been created with the data as well. This is the end of the demonstration. Thank you.